High net worth individuals hate small talk. So today I'm going to show you what to do instead so you can master connecting with them to build better relationships and ultimately increase your sales. And the secret to mastering this involves a topic of conversation everyone on the planet loves to talk about endlessly. I'm Sam Ross, agency founder and creator of the Copy Brand Method. And one of the most common questions my clients and students ask me is, how can I set myself apart with high net worth clients? Now, the reason most founders struggle to connect with high net worth clients isn't because they don't have the expertise. It's because they're so busy usually trying to prove their worth that they forget about the one topic that these clients actually care about the most: themselves. High net worth clients are just like everyone else. They hate boring conversations about the weather, and they have an even lower tolerance for it during valuable time they've set aside for things like sales calls. It's lazy small talk, and it's something you need to erase from your vocabulary. But what are you going to replace it with instead? Well, what if I told you there was a simple formula to ensure you never come off as pushy, salesy, boring, or sound like everyone else? It's called the R formula, A-R-E. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how to use it so you can stop pitching and start positioning yourself as the natural solution. Now, the R formula has three parts: anchor, reveal, and encourage. Anchor means you start by observing something real, something you both share, and you're going to name it. And this way you connect to mutual ground before you ask anything else. Let's say you're speaking to someone you know just went on safari in Africa. Instead of asking the usual boring questions like, well, how was the trip? Or was the flight long? You might say something instead like, I saw the photos you posted from your trip to Africa. That one of the Great Migration was incredible. I mean, the scale of it just looked unreal. Now you're pointing to something specific that shows you actually paid attention to what's going on in their lives. This is the part that makes them feel seen before you move forward. Most people, they skip this part and they just jump straight into a bunch of small talk questions, which feels like an interview and sometimes an interrogation. Next, what you want to do is reveal. And this is where you show shared interest or experience. So you might say, I've had a safari on my bucket list for years, but I've always been worried about the logistics of getting to these remote camps. So how did you get all of this booked? Like, how did you set all of this up? Now there's a shared interest and a specific reason to even have a conversation. You being human helps them lower their guard. Then you're going to encourage. And this is asking a question that invites them to lead and talk about their favorite subject, themselves. Not how many days were you there, which is just kind of drilling for facts, but instead, maybe you ask something like, what was the one moment that actually lived up to the hype for you? Or what did you not expect to love about the trip? When you anchor, reveal, and encourage correctly, something shifts. They feel heard, they feel like you're invested in their experience, and you're invested in what they have to say. That's the power of the R formula. You're listening instead of performing, and you're giving them the space to make genuine connection and real conversation. Now, think about when someone reflects your reality back to you accurately. Something happens in your brain. It registers safety. High net worth individuals often feel like people just want something from them. Everybody's coming at them asking for something. But the R formula actually taps into something primal. It's that human need to feel known. Not to be studied or used, but genuinely seen. I mean, when was the last time someone actually listened to you instead of waited for their turn to talk? Think about it. There's a noticeable difference, right? And that's what you're going for. The other piece of this is that premium brands don't need to shout. Luxury positioning isn't about being louder. It's all about being more precise and attuned so that you can understand and actually help. When you use the R formula, you're building that same premium position in every single interaction. You become the person they want to work with because you've already demonstrated that you understand what actually matters to them. Then your job gets easier. It shifts from persuasion to facilitation. And that's the real power because you're no longer convincing, but inviting them in. And once that happens, the yes becomes almost inevitable. So the R formula isn't just for one-on-one conversations. It's the backbone of how you build authentic authority online at scale. So here's how this translates directly into a content strategy that builds trust before anyone ever buys from you. The anchor is the shared reality. Online anchoring in this case means you stop with the obvious hooks. Okay? You don't ask things like, do you want to grow your business or do you need more clients? Yes is the answer. I mean, everyone's been asked that 1,000 times and everybody wants that for their business. Instead, you anchor on a specific high-level observation about their reality. Maybe you're anchoring on the specific, exhausting reality of a parent with a child who's struggling with ADHD. So you're not just saying parenting is hard, but you're calling out the specific details of their life, like that 4 p.m. meltdown when the medication wears off and the transition from school to home feels like a battlefield. You're anchoring on a shared lived reality that most experts overlook. You're saying, I see the invisible exhaustion of being the person who has to hold it all together when the world doesn't understand your child's brain. Now, when you do this right, the person listening starts to think this person actually gets what it's like at my level. You've mirrored their reality accurately. Then there's the reveal, strategic vulnerability. In a brand, revealing isn't just sharing a random who am I story. It's showing that you've walked the same path and struggled with the same problems and challenges. So you share the moment you realized the old way was broken. Now, maybe it's the story of being fed up with parenting books that talk about problems similar to the ones your child faces, but nothing specific to children with ADHD stuck in a school system with teaching methods that don't work for your kid. That level of specificity, that vulnerability does something powerful. It humanizes your authority. Now you're not just a distant expert. You're an actual peer who found the exit. And that makes people trust you and want to work with you in a way that's way more important than being perfect. And then finally is the encourage piece. And online, this looks like community and engagement. Encouraging is how you move from a monologue to a movement. So instead of generic CTAs like comment below if you agree, you're going to ask high-level questions that make them actually reflect. Your captions in your CTAs ask them to share their specific moment of truth or the moment they decided to find the right solution and not give up hope that their child could absolutely find a path in life that worked with the way their mind does. You're inviting them to lead the conversation, just like in the original R formula. You're not just getting engagement for vanity metrics, you're facilitating a conversation where they lead. Now, when you use the R as your framework, anchoring on shared reality, revealing your humanity, encouraging their voice, you're not just building a brand that sells. You're building a brand that people want to be a part of. So use the R formula and start building a brand that listens.